Welcome everyone to another one of our almost weekly webinars here that we do here at Q4Launch. My name is Stephen Wright. I've had the pleasure of doing a handful of these now over the last couple of months, and usually you're listening to Matt Baer talk and give some quality information about the industry and different ways to improve your marketing, and today we're going to talk about one of those ways, and it's about being able to know your data, being able to navigate your Google Analytics, and at the end of the day to see how you can use that to really work in your advantage. I'm excited to be here today. I did this same webinar about 6 months ago in late January, and we had about 250 or so people registered. Today the replay, essentially, even though this is a live webinar, we're doing this just 6 months later, and we had another 170, 180 people sign up for the webinar. So thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting us and coming to these. Again, I know you get a lot of invitations, so when you do come, it definitely means a lot to us, so we thank you for that. Before we get started in the presentation itself, a few housekeeping things. If you've been with us before, you know the procedure. If not, I wanted to remind you that I'll try to wrap up the presentation portion of this in about 40 to 50 minutes. So I'll move through some stuff pretty quickly, but at the end, we definitely want to make sure that we have time to answer any very specific questions that you have, or that either come from some of the information that I present, or some questions that you did have even prior to attending this webinar, and maybe this is why you're here in the first place. The other thing we're going to do today too, and we're going to start off with this here pretty quickly, is we do a few different polls, and we've decided that, it's a great way to create some interaction between us and those of you who attend our webinars on a regular basis. So I'm going to ask a few questions. We're going to ask you to participate in that, and one of the first things that we're going to dive into right now is this idea of how often, if ever, are you in your Google Analytics. So I'm going to put this poll up on the screen here, and we're going to let it go for about a minute or so and let you all answer that poll. We're just trying to get a feel of who I'm talking to. What is this? Who is the audience I'm talking to today? Is it a group that is never in Google Analytics? Are you in it weekly, monthly, maybe a couple times a year? Results are coming in. It looks like almost 60% of you have already voted, so thank you for that. That was quick. We'll leave the poll open for another 30, 45 seconds, something like that. But yeah, we just want to see, who we're talking to today, and I'm a little bit surprised. So far, 70% of you who have answered are in your analytics at least monthly, if not weekly. So that's actually good to hear, and be sure to have some maybe advanced questions that you want to ask me at the end, ready to roll, and we'll do that. So. Again, maybe in another 10 or 15 seconds. Wow, this is the best participation we've ever had on a poll. You guys are awesome. 80% of you have already voted, and it keeps going up. And yeah, we thank you for that. So again, I'm Steven, known in the office as somewhat of the analytics geek and numbers nerd in our office. I have a bit of a background in athletics and statistics specifically. Even before this webinar, about 15 minutes before I got on the call here, I was helping one of our team members sort through some things, some data analysis for one of his particular customers. So just excited to be here today and hopefully share some expertise with you. So I appreciate that. A minute and a half, and 87% of you voted. That's pretty amazing. Thank you for that. And again, of the 87% of you who voted, let's see here, 73% of you are in your analytics at least weekly. So first of all, congratulations to you. You are doing better than almost everybody else I talk to who ever asks us for any information on analytics. So without further ado, we'll kick this off with a little bit of a quote. When I presented this back in January, I didn't know who W. Edwards Deming was, and quite frankly, somebody told me on that during that. I still don't know. I don't remember. But the quote to me is profound. Without data, you're just another person with an opinion. And we see this a lot as we help people manage the way they're running their businesses, whether it be just from a consultative standpoint or if it's a customer of ours who we're actually working with as their marketing partner. But we see folks particularly in businesses that they own, small businesses, making emotional decisions about their businesses. And a lot of times those emotional decisions aren't necessarily factually based. They're decisions that are coming from the gut. And that's not to say that gut decisions aren't good. You know, my wife works in the medical field. She's a physician assistant, and one of the things she talks about all the time that they train them on is using their gestalt, so using their gut to help them make decisions and make right decisions. And sometimes that works really well. The majority of the time, though, when we're running a business and when we're trying to make decisions based on revenue and based on traffic numbers and based on how many and conversion rates, we have to have that information, or else we're kind of, you know, the blind leading the blind. We really have no way to make those decisions if we don't have anything to back it up with. I would challenge you to allow the data to help you shape your opinion. So even if it's contrary to what your gut does say, you know, I'm kind of notorious, again, in the office for having, you know, if I have an opinion on a way we should do things, or maybe a marketing campaign that we should try and run, and somebody else has another opinion, we were very good about just testing those, right? Test my opinion, my campaign idea versus a teammate of mine's campaign idea, run those against each other. Let us see what the data shows us, whether it be a subject line in an email campaign, the way a page is set up, on a booking page, specifically on a website, whatever it is, we want to test those things. And at the end of the day, whichever decision proves to be the best from a data standpoint, we want to go with that decision. So again, a challenge to you today: let the data help you shape your opinions, and then use that in your decision making, and not just using some of your gut feelings in that decision making process. One more quote. Again, data by itself is useless. Data is only useful if you apply it. Again, another very simple yet profound quote, in my opinion, at least, as we're looking at this. But having Google Analytics set up and having all that data in your arsenal to help you make decisions is an awesome thing. But if you have that data, if you know you're getting 5,000 visits a month and 3,000 of those are from organic traffic, but you don't do anything necessarily to act upon that, you don't do anything to help increase your organic traffic, then what is that data doing for you other than just giving you some light reading material and maybe having something to look at on a weekly basis, or however often you're looking at it, again with however you answer earlier. You need to be letting that data help you shape your business strategy, help you shape your decisions. So if you know that organic traffic is converting people at a 1.5% rate, and your social media traffic is converting people at 0.25% rate, obviously that would tell me that you want to spend more of your resources, whether time or money, bolstering your organic traffic strategy so you can get more and more of that traffic that is converting well. So again, a quick example, and I don't know exactly what it looks like for you. That would be a way in which that you'd that you can use that data to help you make those business decisions. In terms of frequency, and again, this goes back to the very first poll that we already have done, but how often are you looking at that data? I would argue that you need to be at least in your data monthly. And again, it was a pleasant surprise to me. I didn't expect this number, but 73% of you are in your data at least monthly, or so you claim. Only 10% of you, thankfully, are never in your data, and then the other 18% fall somewhere in between once a year to 6 times a year. But again, thankfully, most of you are in your data fairly regularly, so I probably won't spend a whole lot of time here. We recommend it. We recommend it to be this often because you need to know the pulse of your website traffic. You need to see trends. You need to be paying attention to that. How in all of these areas, specifically your organic search, your email campaigns, social media, referral partners, paid advertising. These are maybe the 5 most important areas that we take a look at, and 5 of the areas that we get most of our questions from folks about. So again, think of it as kind of your annual, your doctor checkup, except you want it to be a monthly doctor checkup. And we're actually going to look at a very specific example here really soon about why that's so important and how that can help you both take advantage of positive things and avoid some things that might not, that might be detrimental to your overall success. One of those ways, and we're going to look at the positive example of that first, is this idea that you want to capitalize on the good. Here's an example. We have a customer of ours in the Napa Valley area. They had a viral post on Facebook. And by viral, I mean this post brought their website 32,000 visitors plus in about a 2-week stretch in December, a couple years back. So what do? Well, first of all, if we had never been in the data, we would have not known that this particular post was getting that sort of traffic. We would have posted that Facebook post, we would have walked away, and we probably wouldn't have gone back to it if we hadn't seen the traffic increase. But because we had seen the traffic increase, we were able to investigate, okay, why in the heck are there 8,000 people higher than normal coming to our website on this given day? What we did is we did some digging. We were in analytics that day. We caught it about 3 days late, but still 3 days late is better than 3 months late, right? So we caught it about 3 days late, and we saw that this post had gone viral, was bringing in thousands of visitors every single day. And what we were able to do is we were able to optimize that specific page that was getting so much traffic. So we have very different ways that we're looking to convert people on our customers' websites, from whether it be an actual booking, whether it be into a lead of some sort. So in this case, we decided, hey, we want to convert as many people from this page as we can into a lead. So we created some better calls to action on that page, and what do you know, our lead conversion rate went up over that period of time. I was just looking at this customer's data right before we hopped on this webinar, and that post is continuing to go viral about once every 3 to 5 months. So that work we did about 18 months ago is still reaping benefits because there's still so many people going to that page. People are converting it as a lead at a higher rate, and it's working unbelievably well for us. So that is an example of a positive thing that you want to capitalize on. So capitalizing on the good. The opposite of that would be you want to make sure that you are correcting the bad as well. And so what do I mean by that? Well, sometimes things happen. Google changes their algorithm. You're going to have to be aware of any changes that Google makes and how that is specifically affecting you on a consistent basis. One of the ways, I'm going to pull over a screen and we're going to look at an actual customer of ours and look at some of their graph, their traffic graph from a couple of years ago. So we started working, this is the Settlers Inn, and we were working with them, and we had started working with them several months before this. But you can see that the orange number, or the orange line, that's bad, right? That means the year before was better than the current year, and that's not something that we wanted to have happen. But unfortunately, after several weeks of having really great organic traffic, being up by as much as, looks like 32% in organic traffic this week, 31 that week, something happened, something slipped. And so again, because we were in analytics, for our customers, we do it about weekly, if not every other week. We were able to catch this really quickly. We saw that at the end of August and early September, organic traffic just dropped off a ledge. And for us, we're like, okay, how in the world, why in the world did this happen? It took us a while. We started doing some test searches on our own to see, okay, are we still ranking for all of the core keywords that we need to rank for? Have we dropped from the first page to the third page? Like, what in the world has happened? What we had found out, and this was a bit of a unique situation, was we were still ranking really well, or so it appeared. We were showing up on the first page. We were showing up in the map listing for several of those keywords. But unfortunately, while their name and their logo was showing up, when we clicked on that, it was actually going to a totally different website. So there was a particular website, who had hijacked their name and their ranking. So when we were searching for that, the domain name wasn't showing up anymore, but it was going to a different domain. And so immediately, and because we caught it here on that far left side, that early on portion of the traffic being down, we were able to correct that. And look, so even though we corrected it and we found it in early September, we started the process with Google to reclaim that listing. Look how long it took. It still took until the end of November for that to be corrected in the eyes of Google. There's a whole process you have to go through to reclaim the name and your Google Plus page and all these things. But what would have happened if we weren't in analytics until November? Now we're looking, instead of it being just a 2-month drop in traffic, now we're looking at being a 4, 6, sometimes 8-month drop in traffic if we weren't able to catch that very quickly. So again, just an example for you to be able to look at and say, okay, yes, I need to see how I'm doing. If not, if traffic's been down for 6 months, what can we do to correct that? If it's only been down for 2 weeks, I would still say you need to be looking at that and try to understand why you were down for the last couple weeks and what can you do to correct that sort of thing. So again, just another example for you to use. One of the things, or the next thing that we're going to take a look at here is just some basic ways that we help people understand their data better, some basic ways that we feel like you're going to be able to understand it at a very simple level. The best advice that I can give you, and kind of the most basic advice I can give you, is you want to be using your source medium as your go-to metric. And where can you find that? So if you're on, if you have analytics open or if you're familiar with it, what you want to do is you want to go there. It's going to be under acquisition. Under acquisition, it's going to be under all traffic, and then under all traffic, you're going to get this option to view your data by source and medium. You also want to be comparing that data year over year. So there's a lot that you can do with that. You obviously want to be tracking that data just like you would your revenue data, right? So June of 2016 is up by X% versus June of 2015. It wouldn't make sense necessarily to compare June of 2016 to January of 2016, because in the travel and hospitality industries, everything is driven by seasonality. Some of us, more so than others, obviously, but most everybody who is in this webinar today has some sort of seasonality that is affecting them on a yearly basis. So again, you want to make sure you're comparing that data year over year, not necessarily month to month. I know I skipped around a little bit there going from that first bullet point to the third bullet point, but backing up a second, one of the things that we see pretty often in, with our customers and in this industry in general is this idea of self-referral traffic, and it's something that you really want to exclude. One of the ways that you can do that is there's a little tab. And again, if you have more questions about this at the end, you can ask me, or we can set up a time to do an analytics analysis together. But essentially, you want to be able to exclude that traffic. Self-referral traffic in our industry specifically is when let's say somebody gets to your website, they're on your homepage, and whether you have a booking engine, a property management system, whatever it is, almost all of us have this book now, or this check availability for our property or properties or rooms or whatever it might be. Typically, when you go from the homepage of your website, you click that check availability button and you go away, you're typically going to a third-party reservation site, although it looks identical to your website because they're able to make it look the same, but in reality you're on a completely different website. Well, let's say somebody's on that booking engine website, and then they look around, but they're not quite ready to make a booking yet, and they click back on a home button in the top navigation. They go back to your website. That would be considered self-referral traffic, and that would show up in your Google Analytics traffic. Let's say as if it was our company, which obviously we're not lodging, but if it was our company, it would show up as Q4Launch.com/referral. So if your domain /referral is in your sources, you need to be excluding that, because that is essentially counting that one visitor 2 times. So it's doubling the amount of that traffic of people who are doing that. So again, I can help you walk through that in a one-on-one setting, but there's ways that you can exclude that in your data. That way you're looking at more real data and you're not having to sift through some of the stuff that isn't necessarily accurate. One of the other things you can do is you can set up a dashboard. If you're not familiar with this, we can dive a little bit deeper on that together. But this is an area, if you have the dashboard set up, where you can just take a look at the most important data that you have deemed for yourself. Typically it's going to be total traffic, organic traffic, traffic from email campaigns. If you have e-commerce set up, which we highly recommend that you do, you can put e-commerce and see what your revenue, your online revenue is this year versus last year. If you have some other goals set up, like some lead generation type campaigns that you want to see how different pages are converting or how many leads you're generating, you can put that there as well. Anything that you feel like is important is something that you can add in that dashboard. And then lastly, you also want to have a pretty good feel for what pages are performing well, and you can do that not through that same acquisition portal, but if you go down and look at behavior, you can click on behavior, go to site content, and after you're there you can look at all pages, you can look at landing pages, and you're going to get some data about bounce rate, how long people are staying on your website, and that's a great way that you can analyze each individual page of your website to see which ones are converting the most people, which pages are leading people to continue to look at your website, and which ones are leading people to exit your website, and then use some of that information to make some decisions on what to change or what to continue. Alrighty. One of the ways that we do that, and I'm going to share again a customer of ours and show you some of their data. This is a customer of ours in Hocking Hills, Ohio. And what we can see here is I have this filter by the blog. So everybody who has come to the website from organic traffic as a result of the blog over the last 12 months. I can see that there are several blogs that have gotten over 1,000 visitors, 1,000 organic visitors to their website just in the last 12 months alone. There's this blog we wrote about the Devil's Bathtub, the blog about 9 fun things to do in Athens, Ohio, a blog about Girls Weekend in Ohio. And then I can use some of this data, this behavior data, this conversion data to see, okay, well, which of these pages is doing the best, and what can I do as their marketing partner to improve conversion rates? What can I do to make sure that we are getting the most out of this information that we can? One thing that I see right off the bat as I'm looking at this is this Girls Weekend in Ohio page is converting at over a 1% mark in terms of people converting as a lead or downloading this vacation guide. So I can take a look at that page. I can click this little arrow. It's gonna pop out something for me to look at here. And I'll be able to see that this page, when people land on it from organic traffic about Girls Weekend in Ohio, 1% of those people are downloading vacation guides. Probably because we've been able to we took that knowledge of people getting to the website, and we've been able to add this call to action, this button here, for people to click here to download the vacation guide today. Without a doubt, I'm sure that is why it's converting better than this page, which we haven't created that call to action yet for the Devil's Bathtub. That's only converting at a 0.3% rate. This particular blog does not have that same call to action. It's up here in the top right corner to download a vacation guide, but we don't have that additional button here. So for me, and again, as we're going through this, and some of this I'm just talking out loud and learning as we go, we would want to add that button to see if we can increase this conversion rate from 0.29% maybe up to 0.75%. And because we're getting so many visitors, over 7,600 visitors, that would end up making a pretty significant impact in the amounts of leads we're generating, the amounts of people we're adding to the overall email database that we have for this particular customer. And at the end of the day, it's going to help us with the amount of bookings that this particular customer does have. Some of the more advanced things that you want to do, so that was some of the basic data that you definitely want to take a look at. Some of the more advanced things that you want to look at would be something like e-commerce tracking. Do you have e-commerce set up so you can see whether or not different pages, different sources are converting actual transactions at a higher rate? This is going to be largely contingent on what property management system or booking engine that you have. Not every booking engine is created equal in that if they don't have great analytics integration, I probably wouldn't choose them. So as you're making that decision, if you're in the market for a new booking engine or property management system, one of the things that you need to be asking is, can you integrate with analytics? from an e-commerce standpoint, so I can know exactly how many people are booking rooms, booking properties as a result of each of my sources of traffic. Another thing that we can look at, and this is basically the example we just looked at, was what other goals can we track the conversion of. So again, the customer we just looked at, we were looking at that the page for the girls weekend getaway is converting at over a 1% rate. The page about the hiking around Devil's Bathtub is only getting a 0.3% conversion rate. And that's some of that data that we're going to use so we can improve upon their marketing. So our next step is then to go to the Devil's Bathtub page and be able to use that information that we have from the girls weekend getaway, and how can we duplicate that success in order to raise the conversion rate for that particular page. Along with pages, and again, this is I skipped a bullet point here, but what sources are converting well? Again, if you're in that source medium and you had that portion of your Google Analytics, you're going to be able to see, okay, how well is Google organic traffic converting? How well is my pay-per-click traffic converting? How well is email marketing traffic converting? And you can look at that both from an e-commerce standpoint, both from the money side of things, and if you have other goals set up as well. Some are going to be better for the transactions, some sources are going to be better for generating leads, and you want to know what that is on your website, so again, you can make smarter decisions and you can improve those areas that are lacking, and you can duplicate those areas that are going very well for you. A few other areas that we tend to help people with and really take a look at with them is this idea of integrating AdWords with your Google Analytics. It's unbelievably important. No matter what, if you're spending money on Google AdWords, you are going to get traffic to your website. I mean, that's the idea of it, right? You're paying for ads that people are going to click on at some sort of rate, and you're going to be spending money every time they click to your website. But is that traffic converting? And that's what you need to ask yourself. What I see far too often is that what I see far too often is that most people are spending money on AdWords and they see they're getting traffic, and they have maybe 4 or 5 campaigns set up with different keywords and all that. What I tend to see is about 80% of their transactions, their conversions, come from typically one of those campaigns, which means that there's 3 or 4 other campaigns that you're spending money on, but none of that is converting. And so my recommendation, and again, I see this all the time, is stop spending money on those campaigns that aren't producing fruit, that aren't producing transactions. You want nothing to do with those. You want to be either reallocating those resources and putting that money towards the AdWords campaigns that are back to that one campaign that is converting, or you want to reallocate some of that budget to having, bolstering your search engine optimization, to sending out more email campaigns and some of those other sources that are doing well. But regardless, you want to have AdWords and analytics integrated so that you can have those conversion numbers. And at the end of the day, you can see which keywords, which campaigns, which ads are performing the best, and then that'll help you justify and understand where you need to be spending that money and how you can reallocate those resources. Another one that we take a look at a lot is this idea of, okay, where in the world, literally, where in the world are people looking at my website from? And this helps us in a couple of different ways. One, we get an idea of, first of all, where the people who are booking with us, where do they live? Are we mostly a drive market? Do people only come and visit us if they're within a 2 to 4 hour drive from us? Or are we such a destination that we know we're getting people from New York and LA and Dallas and wherever else, and people are flying in because we are that awesome of a destination? People are planning trips to fly to us as well. Having that information is very useful. One of the ways that we use that, and you can use this in a variety of ways, but one of the ways that we use this on a really consistent basis is, let's say we want to run a special or package. Better yet, let's say we want to do a last-minute getaway. It's a Tuesday, you have a couple of openings for the weekend still, and you want to offer your final, the last of your inventory at a 10% discount, or you want to package it with dinner for two or whatever it is. Let's say you want to do that, and then you want to run a Facebook ad to get that out, and you want to spend 15, 20 bucks on that Facebook ad so that it reaches the customer base that makes most sense for you. Well, having this geography data is very helpful, right? If you're in a drive zone, you want to know, well, what cities are people driving to me from? If I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, I need to know if I need to target this to people in Greensboro or Winston-Salem or Columbia, South Carolina, or Asheville, North Carolina, or Spartanburg, South Carolina. Whichever of those areas people are looking at me at, I want to attract those people. I want to push that ad only to those people who are looking at my website on a regular basis. One of the things that could happen, I might think that people in Wilmington, North Carolina might want to make the 3 to 4 hour drive over to Charlotte, and then my data might tell me something completely different. I might see that there's literally nobody from Wilmington, whoever has been on my website. And so having that sort of knowledge is going to be helpful in planning some of those types of campaigns. So yeah, using that information is going to benefit you greatly. One of the things that we're going to do, after this as well, and we're really, finish up here with most of the content, and we're going to answer some questions. We've already had some questions coming in, so please, if I didn't touch on something, or if you want me to dive deeper on any of those questions, feel free to look in the chat panel below and ask away, and we'll be getting to those here relatively quickly. If you've been with us for any period of time, or again, if this is your first one, again, welcome, and this is something that we do in all of our webinars, but we want to make sure that we're allowing you to take a next step. And if this information has been beneficial to you, or if you still have questions and you need somebody to help you look deeper into that, the next step for this particular webinar is very simple. It's just to request a Google Analytics analysis, and there's going to be a couple of ways that you can do that. One, I'm going to put another poll up here on your screen, so that if you would like the Google Analytics analysis, just click yes. We'll follow up with you. If you don't want it, that's fine too. If you don't want the analysis, but you want to hear a little bit more about who we are, that's fine as well. So that's going to be the first way that you're going to be able to request the Google Analytics analysis. The second way, and again, my email address is going to be back up on the screen here in just a second. You can email me directly. I'd love to schedule that with you. And also, we'll send out a follow-up recording of the webinar once we're finished here today. And that'll be one of the ways that we're going to ask you again if you would like that analysis, and if you fill out a form and say, yes, I do want that, that will be great as well. So again, it's completely free. It takes 20 to 30 minutes. You just grant me Google Analytics access. We'll look at it together. I'll answer all of your specific questions, and we'll analyze your data, and hopefully it'll help you make better decisions for your business as a result of that. So we're going to leave that open here for just a few other minutes. I'm going to look through some of these questions that we have and see if there's anything else or any questions that I can answer for you right now while you're filling out that form. All right. All right, so one of the first questions that I got here, is there a way to use Google Analytics to assess our individual company-sponsored VRBO listings? It's a great question. So this is coming from a vacation rental manager, obviously, and the same could be said if you're a hotel owner, an inn owner, a bed and breakfast owner. If you're on any directory site, I think this answer will apply to. But the answer is that with your Google Analytics access, you're really only going to be able to track that traffic that is on your website. So because VRBO isn't technically your website, they have that data. They might have their own, they probably have their own sort of analytics and data that they have if they're using Google Analytics at all. But that would be a way, that would be something that they would have access to, and they might be able to, they should be able to supply for you, if you ask them for that data. The only way that you can see anything from, you know, one of your sources or one of your mediums, if you will, is looking at your referral partners. So I'm going to just pull this over, and I'm going to stop sharing the poll here so we can take a look back at my screen. 60% of you answered, you know, reached out, and a lot of you are wanting that analytics analysis, so glad to hear that. I'm going to close that out, and we're going to take a look here at some data. But the only way that you can really see what your referral partners are, or wherever you're listed, whether it be VRBO, bedandbreakfast.com, or any other, you know, directory listing site, is, again, source medium is going to be your friend. So acquisition, all traffic, source medium. And so like here we can see that, you know, bedandbreakfast.com brought this particular customer 1,102 visits. You know, there should be other ways for you to this will be the way that you'll be able to see if VRBO is sending any people to your website. But other than that, I can't think of any way where you'd be able to know that data on their website of people looking at your properties, than reaching out to them and asking them if they'd be willing to share that information from you. All right, next question here. One of my source mediums is Rank Checker Online. Who or what is this? Another great question. So essentially there are many spammy people out there who are creating these bots to crawl your website. Rank Checker Online is one of those spammy bots. Another one you see is 4 Webmaster Tools or SEO monetization. There's all these things that just make no sense. People are just creating these to try to steal some of that data. The only thing it really means for you is that that's not a real source of traffic, and that when you go to look at that source of traffic, you need to make sure that you're actually excluding it, because it's going to skew the data pretty significantly. Again, there's a way to do that, and let me, I'm going to pull over another example here, and we're just going to take a look. I'm not sure if they have, if this customer of ours has, but what you can do is, let me go back here, we'll do acquisition, source medium. And let's pretend that we look here and we see that one of these, obviously none of these are that spam traffic that you were specifically talking about, but let's say we want to exclude a source of traffic. The best way you can do that here is if you click right here on this Advanced tab, click on Advanced, and then you have the option to either include or exclude a source or medium. So I'm going to exclude that, and just for ease sake, we'll exclude this m.facebook.com source of traffic. You just start typing it in, it should show up for you. Click that, you press apply, and now that source has gone away. It's the same thing if you want to get rid of your Rank Checker Online or any other spammy source that you need to take a look at. So good question. Hopefully that was helpful, and if you need some more help on getting rid of that data or that bad data, let me know, and I can help out there as well. Next question, is there a way to determine referral traffic from secured websites? I've been told that secured websites will not show traffic to your website. Is this correct? There is some truth to that, and the most notable one that I've been made aware of is TripAdvisor. To be honest with you, Scott, that's a great question. I haven't fixed that personally myself, but I know it's fixable, and I know we have a solution. I am making a note to myself to follow up with you on that, and I'll reach out and I will send you information on that as well. But yeah, one of the things that's happening right now, and again, we saw it with TripAdvisor specifically, was that the data, because they're on a secure website, it wasn't transferring over as TripAdvisor data, it was transferring over more as it's transferring over more as direct traffic, which direct traffic by definition is when somebody goes, they type in your domain name exactly and press enter. In reality, it is that plus anything that Google can't categorize, it will throw into that direct traffic bucket. So that's the best answer I can give for you, but I'll follow up with you, Scott, and we'll get a better answer for you that you can, hopefully use for your own analytics. Next question from Ron. Since Google is continuously scrubbing out bad data, especially last year, is it fair or accurate to compare year-over-year data? If so, what should the average vacation rental company expect as a year-over-year gain or loss with organic traffic? That's another good question. So Ron, for me, I've never seen Google get rid of old data. I know that we can filter it out, and moving forward, it will no longer it will no longer count certain types of traffic moving forward. I've never seen it go back and kind of retroactively change the data. So if you have an example for me specifically, or if you want me to look at that with you, I'd be glad to do that. But that one has me a little stumped. I've never seen Google get rid of data from previous years. I've only seen them kind of filter it moving forward. In terms of what the average vacation rental company should expect from a traffic standpoint organically, obviously the total traffic is very contingent on the market that you're in and how many people are searching for keywords that you need to be ranking for. So whether it be, in your case, vacation rental specific keywords, or vacation homes, vacation condos, or just the other things to do in your area, all of those things are going to play a part in the total amount. But from a percentage standpoint, what we would like to see, and the goal that we set for ourselves, is that if you're doing SEO well on a consistent basis and you are keeping up with all Google's changes and making sure that you are staying ahead of the game, you should see at least a 25% increase in your organic traffic year over year every year. That's our goal that we set for ourselves, and that's what we'd like to see. So if you're not hitting that 25% increase number, that would be something to me that would say, okay, well, maybe we need to relook at our search engine optimization strategy and revamp that with some content that's going to help us move up in the search ranking. So again, Ron, hopefully that answers your question. If you want me to take a look with you at the idea of Google getting rid of bad data or data from previous years, send me an email. It's on the screen right there, and we can set up a time to have that conversation. Next question from John Cross. Can you show a quick how-to to set up a custom dashboard? I believe I can do that really quickly, and we'll just use one example here. This is a customer of ours. We'll look at their dashboard. We'll look at this dashboard right here. So we already have some things set up, right? And one of the things, part of what we have total visits, we have total unique visits, we have total organic visits, total visits from the blog. All those things I kind of mentioned at the top when we were going through this idea of setting up a dashboard, we already have there. But if you wanted to add a new section to this dashboard, you can go here to add a widget. I've already reached my limit with this customer, 12 widgets. Let me see if I can go to somebody else who hasn't reached the 12 widgets. Apparently there's a capacity here. All right, that one looks under 12. So you go to this add widget, and let's say I want to add a metric. I just go down here to add a metric. Let's say we want to look at, let's see, what do we want to look at? We can really do any of these. Everything is going to be in here for us to take a look at. I can look at, any of this information. You go in. We want to look at exit percentage of a page. We can add a filter. Add the filter, by if we want to do it by source, we can do source, and then we can press save. And now that new widget should show up here somewhere. So yeah, the widget was added down here at the bottom. So again, you can do it with anything. We would recommend total traffic, organic traffic, email marketing traffic, traffic from social media, and all those things. I know I only showed you one there, John, but if you want me to walk you through it to set up the more specific ones, I can do that with you as well. So that was just kind of on the fly and allowed me to at least show you how to create a widget on the dashboard. Question from Michelle, could you follow up with me as well about the TripAdvisor referral data? Yeah, no problem. I am making a note of that, and I can follow up with you. And if you can, again, maybe just shoot me an email. I'm writing it down right now, but usually we get a lot of emails after these webinars. So if you want to shoot me an email, that'll help me remember as well there, Michelle. So hopefully I can get that answer to you on the TripAdvisor information. All right, so those are all the questions that have come in so far. We'll leave this open for another minute or two, as we're wrapping up here. But if you have any other questions on Google Analytics, feel free to ask me again in the next couple of minutes down there in the question chat panel. If not, again, my email address, my phone number are both on the screen. You can email me, Steven@Q4Launch.com, or you can give me a call or send me a text or whatever you want to do at the phone number right there, and I'll get back to you. Ask whatever analytics questions you want, or if you have any other marketing type questions, be glad to answer those as well. So it doesn't look like any other questions are coming in. If you have filled out the form and mentioned that you wanted the Google Analytics analysis, I will follow up with you and set up a time where we can spend 30 minutes together and take care of that, and then we can go from there. But until then, look for the recording. We'll send that out so you can have this information and pass it along to anybody else who you feel it might be beneficial to, whether whether it's members of your team or other of your friends within the industry. Feel free to pass it along to them once you get that email from us as well. Oh, another question came in from George right as we're signing off here. How hard is it to set up a dashboard, and will it update by itself? The first part, how hard is it to set up? So adding widgets, George, not super difficult. I just kind of gave a really quick demo on how to do that, and if you have some specific questions on how I can help you set up a dashboard, it's not that hard. We can get you the data that you're looking for there pretty quickly. In terms of it updating by itself, yeah, once you have the dashboard set up, you don't have to go in and add any more widgets. You don't have to add any more sources of traffic or anything like that once it's set up. The only thing that you need to make sure you do is you select a date range up in the top right corner. So if I'm going to pull up what I was just looking at here. So if I'm on the dashboard and I want to change this data, it's all there. It's going to present it to me very nicely. The only thing I would need to change is if I want to look at, let's say, January data, and I want to compare that to the previous year, I can do that. I can go in here, and it's going to show me some of that data changes. So yeah, it's going to update all by itself. And yeah, so, oh, another comment from George. Thanks. Say hello to Matt. I will say hello to Matt. He is traveling this week at a conference, but I will shoot him a text, let him know you said hello, and yeah, appreciate that. So again, that's all the questions that we have for today. Thanks for being with us for the last 45 minutes or so. We're getting out of here a little bit under the hour mark, so I'm happy that we were able to be respectful of the hour time that we had allotted for today. Thanks again. We're going to be sending out more webinar invites here in the near future. We got some fun ones lined up, some we've done before and some that we've never even attempted to do. So be on the lookout for those. Come back, say hi to us again, and we look forward to hosting you at our next webinar. Have a great day, and we'll chat soon.